Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Tensei Slime Light Novel Summary Series on AniMonolith. Picking up right after the last part, it's late at night, and our next guest is none other than Gabil, who quietly sneaks into Rimuru's office after dinner. Since it's already past midnight, Rimuru tells him to keep his voice down and invites him to sit for a talk. First of all, Rimuru says, "Thank you for enduring to the end and keeping everyone alive. You did a great job." Hearing that, Gabil immediately bursts into tears, overwhelmed with emotion. Rimuru decides to wait for him to calm down before continuing. After wiping his face, Gabil insists that it was only thanks to Rimuru's help that he managed to win and survive. Then he asks, "That voice I heard back then, that was you, wasn't it?" Of course, it wasn't Rimuru's voice at all, but Ciel's. However, since Ciel's existence is a secret trump card, Rimuru decides not to explain too much and simply nods along. "I knew it," Gabil says proudly, before promising not to let the praise go to his head. Rimuru notices that his expression is calmer and more composed than before. The once reckless Dragonaut had really grown up. "You've matured a lot," Rimuru tells him. That's all it takes for Gabil to start crying again. This time, Rimuru just hands him a towel instead of a handkerchief. The guy's hopeless. Then, Rimuru reviews Gabil's updated status after his evolution. Gabil's current status: existence value 1,263,824. Race, True Dragonaut. Mid-class Chaos. Spirit, Water Spirit. Dragon, Blessing, Rimuru's Blessing. Title, Draco Lord. Ultimate Gift, Psychology King, Mood Maker. Intrinsic Skills, Magic Perception, Ultra Instinct, Dragon Skin, Black Flame Breath, Black Thunder Breath. Resistances, Pain, Nullification, Abnormal Condition. Resistance, Natural Effects Resistance, Physical Attack Resistance, Mental Attack Resistance, Holy Demonic Attack Resistance. By now, Gabil's power was on par with Sue's. His new ultimate gift, Psychology King, Mood Maker, was another one of Ciel's masterpieces. It wasn't something he had awakened on his own, but Rimuru understood that it was Gabil's natural talent that made it possible for him to receive it. This ultimate gift granted 5 core abilities: Thought Acceleration Change, Destiny, Unexpected Effects, Spatial Manipulation, Multi-Layer Barrier. If Gabil could learn to properly control his overflowing aura, Rimuru believed he might even unlock Demon Lord Haki someday. The most incredible of these abilities was Change Destiny, an extraordinary power that could literally rewrite fate. Though it could only be used once per day, it had the potential to completely turn the tide of battle, even against an overwhelmingly stronger opponent. Rimuru couldn't help but imagine how terrifying it would be if someone like Diablo possessed that skill. If Change Destiny ever fell into his hands, Rimuru thought, he'd easily become the strongest being alive. After drying his tears, Gabil proudly begins describing his most memorable fight. Apparently, his unique grade weapon, the Vortex Spear, managed to clash evenly against a mythical grade weapon, the Blue Dragon Spear used by one of Gladam's subordinates. That shouldn't have been possible. If it were just a legendary grade weapon, maybe Rimuru could believe it. But mythical grade? How did a unique weapon survive that? Ciel quickly answers the question. Gabil unknowingly infused his skill into the spear. The weapon endured because it was protected by his ultimate gift's divine level energy. In short, Gabil had subconsciously mastered his power during the fight. Rimuru was genuinely impressed. Behind all that loud, goofy personality, Gabil was actually a hard worker. "Gabil," Rimuru says, "could you leave your spear with me for a while? I'd like Kurobe to reforge it." "What? You mean?" "Yes, by inheriting its past battle experience and reforging it with Hihirakan, we might even evolve it into a mythical grade weapon." Hihirakan, the ultimate metal, was rare, but Rimuru felt that Gabil was worth it. Strengthening both the Dragonaut and his spear would make him a far more reliable ally for the future. Gabil, eyes brimming with tears again, agrees immediately. "By all means, please do it." If this reforging succeeded, both Gabil's weapon and his own existence value would rise dramatically. Since his body was now close to a semi-spiritual life form, his resistances would also keep improving. Meanwhile, his subordinates, the Tenshou Shu, or Heavenly Flying Crowd, had grown far stronger as well, averaging around 120,000 EP, with elite members exceeding 200,000. And so, the interview ended on a warm and emotional note. Though Gabil had spent most of it crying, Rimuru couldn't help but smile. The once reckless lizard man had truly become a warrior, worthy of respect. Late at night, Rimuru sat down for a quiet drink with Geld in a private, members-only tavern. Despite being surrounded by gorgeous elf waitresses, Rimuru politely declined their company. Tonight's focus was just him and Geld. Geld seemed in great spirits. He laughed and proudly mentioned that he'd finally gotten used to his new power after evolution, to the point he could hold a beer glass without accidentally crushing it. The two clinked glasses and drank together for a while before Rimuru suddenly brought up something a bit serious. "Hey, Geld, I'm gonna say something kinda rude, so don't take it the wrong way, okay?" What Rimuru meant by rude was that he wanted to ask Geld if he'd agree to have his skills modified. Of course, Seal could have done that anytime, but Rimuru preferred to keep her existence secret. And honestly, he called it rude because he was worried he might say something weird again. He knew he had a habit of joking around too casually sometimes. Rimuru even admitted that back in elementary school, he used to talk to girls a lot, and then immediately stopped himself like, yeah, let's not dig up my black history. Even now he was aware of his lack of delicacy, but he still made an effort every day to refrain from saying things that people might not like. Despite being a smooth talker, Rimuru was self-aware enough to worry about sounding insensitive. But Geld, being the chill guy he is, just smiled and said, "Please, Rimuru-sama, I'd never find your words rude. If it helps me get stronger, then I'd be more than happy." Hearing that, Rimuru nodded, and the moment Geld gave his consent, Seal immediately got to work. Geld's updated status. Name Geld existence value 2,378,749. Race Divine Boar, Greater Chaos Spirit, Earth Spirit Boar. Blessing, Rimuru's Blessing. Title Barrier Lord. Magic, Restoration Magic. Ultimate Gift, Gourmet King. Beelzebub. Resistances, Pain. Nullification, Abnormal Condition. Nullification, Physical Attack. Resistance, Natural Effects. Resistance, Mental Attack Resistance. Holy Demonic Attack Resistance. The Ultimate Gift, Gourmet King Beelzebub. Its powers include Thought Acceleration, Magic Perception, Demon Lord Hockey, Ultra Speed Regeneration, Predation, Stomach, Isolation, Demand, Supply, Corrosion, Iron Wall, Grant Protection, Substitute, Spatial Manipulation, Multilayer Barrier, Keen Smell, and Full Body Armor. Yeah, that's a mouthful. Even just reading it feels like running a marathon. Basically, Gourmet King Beelzebub is like a refined, high-efficiency version of Rimuru's own Gluttonous King Beelzebub, customized for Geld's tanky, defensive fighting style. With Grant Protection, Geld can share defensive energy with his allies, forming a collective shield system. Iron Wall and Substitute let him absorb part of his comrades' damage, while Corrosion adds offensive potential, making him both a wall and a weapon. At this point, Geld's body itself had become a fortress. His armor evolved into mythical grade, merging seamlessly with his flesh, and could appear or vanish at will, just like a demon's battle garments. Even his massive meat cleaver had been upgraded by Kurobe. The weapon could remember its shape and reform itself even after being destroyed. With his new mythical armor and the Gourmet King Blessing, Geld's power skyrocketed, to the point where his overall strength surpassed even Sue and Gabil in defense. Rimuru figured that unless someone hit him with an insanely powerful attack, it'd be nearly impossible to break through Geld's defenses. "You've become really reliable, Geld. I can count on you more than ever." "That's an honor, Rimuru-sama. I'll keep doing my best to protect everyone." And with that, the interview with the Barrier Lord came to a peaceful end. A night of drinks, laughter, and genuine pride between master and subordinate. After returning to his cozy private room, Rimuru began thinking about the next day's interviews. Today's session had only started at dusk, so he'd managed to meet with just 5 people so far. Brate, Benimaru, Sue, Gabiru, and Geld. That still left 9 of the 12 Guardian Lords, plus a few extra individuals like Apito, whom Ciel had specifically requested to see personally, apparently to adjust her skills in some mysterious way. Rimuru had already asked Shuna to push Diablo and Shion to the end of the schedule, partly to save himself from a headache, so he figured he could wrap up the remaining interviews by tomorrow. He also received word that Masayuki and the Imperial entourage were holding a long, strategic meeting. Although Rimuru was a bit concerned about the boy, he decided it was best to stay out of it. Those political discussions were such a pain, especially with Velgrin's presence turning the 70th floor into a no-go zone for everyone. Even Veldora had long since given up and fled back to his room. Rimuru couldn't help but wonder what kind of experiences Velgrind had gone through, but he quickly brushed the thought aside. Work first, curiosity later, he told himself. As he was mulling over those thoughts, a familiar presence stirred in his shadow. A large, fluffy head poked out. It was Ranga, finally awake from his evolution. "Whoa, you're up! Ranga, you did it!" Rimuru exclaimed, hugging his loyal companion out of pure joy. Ranga wagged his tail happily, but his ears drooped almost immediately. "Master, I slept through the entire battle with the Empire," he said dejectedly. Rimuru sighed, smiling wryly. "You're worrying about that? Don't. The others did fine with their roles, and everyone's just glad you evolved safely. No one's blaming you, Ranga." Hearing that, the giant wolf's tail began wagging again. "Master, I'm so happy to hear that." Ranga nuzzled against him affectionately, and Rimuru buried his hands into that thick, soft fur, a luxury he hadn't enjoyed in a long while. Once the moment settled, Rimuru decided it was the perfect time for a quick status check. Ranga's updated status. Name Ranga Existence. Value 4,340,084 Race Divine Wolf, Greater Chaos. Spirit Wind Spirit Wolf. Blessing Rimuru's Blessing. Title Star-Lord. Magic Wind Spirit. Magic Ultimate Skill Stellar Wind. King Hastur. Resistances Physical Attack. Nullification Natural Effects. Nullification Abnormal Condition. Nullification Mental Attack Resistance Holy Demonic Attack. Resistance. Rimuru couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Ranga's race now possessed divine attributes, the same kind found in local deities worshipped across remote lands and, in some ways, even stronger. According to Seal's analysis, beings with an existence value exceeding 1 million could be considered Saint class, while those surpassing 2 million might be called divine class. They weren't literal gods, but beings whose power and presence were divine in nature. Ranga's EP was now well over 4 million, rivaling even Benimaru's base stats. That alone showed how extraordinary his evolution was. The likely reason? Ranga had spent so much time dwelling within Rimuru's shadow, constantly bathed in his master's magicules. "Impressive, Ranga," Rimuru praised sincerely. "Ha ha ha, it's all thanks to my master," Ranga replied proudly, puffing out his chest, or as much as a wolf could. The most surprising part, however, was Ranga's new ultimate skill, Stellar Wind King Hastur, the very same skill originally planned for Veldora. Rimuru immediately suspected Ciel's involvement. "Don't tell me." "Correct, I helped a little," Ciel answered casually in his mind. Rimuru sighed, but smiled. Well, it suited Ranga perfectly anyway, so there was no reason to complain. Abilities of Stellar Wind King Hastur. Thought Acceleration, Universal Perception, Demon Lord, Haki, Weather Domination, Sound and Wind Domination, Spatial Domination, Multi-Layer Barrier. This was an utterly overwhelming power, one capable of influencing the weather itself. Rimuru was amazed that Ranga, his ever-loyal partner, had reached such an incredible level. Still, he couldn't help but chuckle as a thought crossed his mind. Now that Ranga's this strong, will Gobta be able to keep up? Or will he just run headfirst into another wall like before? And with that lighthearted thought, the day's reflections came to a close. Tomorrow's interviews awaited, but for now, Rimuru allowed himself a smile, proud, relieved, and maybe just a little amused. And that wraps up today's recap, everyone. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.